Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be having a look at two different tanks that are basically versus each other. Now, they're both very similar tanks, but also they are equally as different. So they are tier 10 and they are kind of auto loaders slash auto reloaders. So the first tank on the what we're going to look at is the Progetto 65. Now the Progetto 65, of course, is the Italian tier 10, and it has that auto reloading system. Now, those of you that have been around the channel for a while will know that I absolutely love this auto reloading system. I love it better than the auto loader. Just because it gives you some versatility, you know. You could play it as a single shotgun, you could play it as an auto loader, or you could play it as an auto reloader where you can shoot 2 shells and then reload, or you can shoot 1 shell and reload. You can play it how you want to play it, and that is why I love this system so much. Now, those tanks with the within the auto reloading system that has the reserve shell, now of course that is a little bit different because you have to try to refrain from using that last shell, and it's just a bit more to think about. However, things like the Progetto, like we've got here, you don't have to think about that. You could play it how you want to play it, and it is equally as good. Now, the only thing that I always do when I'm playing one of these tanks, I forget about the reload. Like there, I was like 0.01 seconds away from reloading a second shell, and then I don't look. I just think, you know, I'm going to shoot. Of course, when you have the auto reloader with a reserve shell, you do kind of have it in your mind that you can't fire that shot. But something like this tank here, you don't really think about it. You don't really think about it, and you just fire if there is a shot available, which is absolutely fine because your DPM is still decent. It is still decent. Of course, it is better if you reload all 3 shells, but I've always said with a tank like this, if you've got a target, shoot it, no matter how many shells you have, because by the time you've reloaded your next shell, that target might not be a target anymore. It might have gone into hiding, or it might have been dead. Someone else may have killed it. So, you know, there's different ways to play these kind of tanks. Now, the Progetto 65, honestly, I think it is an amazing tank. I really do love this tank. You could pick up damage very, very quickly, and sometimes you don't realize just how much damage that you've got, because it's not something you always look for in the middle of the game. You don't look at your damage. You're in the game, you're in a battle, and you're just focused on the battle, and you kind of forget about damage overall. And then when the end battle results come in, you're like, oh bloody hell, I've got 4k damage. How did I manage to do that much damage? So yeah, and you get that a lot. You do get that an awful lot. So this game, 4.2k damage, no problem whatsoever. And we got that very, very easily, like very easily. Are we going to get another shot? No, we are not. So that is the Progetto 65, a tank that I really, really do love. Now, if it didn't have the auto reloading system, I probably wouldn't love it as much as I do. So the next tank, it's very, very similar. However, it hasn't got the auto reloading system. It is just an auto loader. So it's a little bit different, but the tank plays very, very similar. Now, we are, of course, looking at the TVP. And this tank here is more of a skill-based player tank. Like, if you're not a great player, then you're going to struggle in this tank. Now, I do love the tank. I think it is very, very good. But it's definitely more skill-based to play this tank than it is the Progetto. So, of course, it has 4 shells, but you have to shoot all the shells before you start reloading. So, and of course, you have to then decide when you want to go for the reload. And what I mean by that, so you might have 2 shots, like now for example, I've had 1 shot out, I've got no other target. What do I do? Do I just keep the 3 shells, or do I go for the full magazine reload? And that is something you really do need to think about when you are driving this tank. Of course, if you've got targets there for the whole 4 shells, absolutely perfect. You don't need to think about it because you're going to fire all 4 shells and then of course you're going to reload. However, if you've only got a target for 2 shells, then you need to decide, have you got time to reload your magazine before you have a target again, or are you best off just keeping the 2 shells and waiting? So it's stuff to think about, and that is why a lot of pros do really, really well in the tank. They know when to reload. They know what they've got to do. And again, it's a tank with no armor, so it is a bit difficult to play. And if you get rushed while you're on that big reload, then you could just be obliterated. Now, a tank like the TVP, you could be HE'd from just about anywhere, especially with big guns. So that is something else to think about as well. So it's not just about the reload you need to think about. It's a lot of things, just like the Leopard 1. You know, it's a great tank, but you really need to think about positioning, and you really need to be map awareness and tank awareness. And this is the same with the TVP. Again, you can still pick up damage very, very quickly. Now, don't know why we went for the HE shot there, but it didn't pay off. And so far, we're on 2,000 damage, just about 2,000 damage with 3 tanks left alive. Now, we are still on a reload. I know this Conway has taken his attention for the WZ, so I know I can get around him and he's not going to get the shot off. But again, by the time I get around, he's gone. So I've got 1 shell, and what I've decided is to go for the reload already. I know that there is no other target around, so that is the best option to go for that reload, and it turned out to be the best option. Yes, I know you've only shot 1 shell and you could have had 3 shells, but I would prefer to shoot 4 shells than I would 3 shells. So always think about it. And again, look, I've reloaded, but before I even get to the enemy, I have reloaded, and now I can rush this guy and have 4 shells against him. So yeah, I think the TVP is and then I miss a shot. Anyway, I think the TVP is a very, very good tank, but as I've said, it is definitely more for the skilled player. So let me know what tank you prefer. Now, of course, looking at both tanks, I do think the Progetto is a better tank, just because you can play it many different ways. But let me know in the comments, what tank do you prefer out of the TVP and the Progetto 65? Let me know in the comments below. They are both fantastic tanks, but what tank do you prefer out of both of these? So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I am meadsy69, and I will catch you all very soon. Bye bye.